Well, good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us for our very first SSAA Industry Week. It's day 2 and we've got people coming in now. So welcome to my guest panelists today. And I want to just go through, I know that some of you have heard this before because you dialed in yesterday, but we do have we have other viewers today. So just to let you know how we arrived at this Industry Week for the association, this concept of, it was an open day actually back in 2016 at our Melbourne convention, where we wanted to showcase the products and services offered by all of our suppliers. It was initially aimed at people that weren't already in the business of storage, and we wanted to help educate them and help them on their journey into this business. So from there, we took it on the road around Australia and New Zealand. We would do about 3 to 4 open days a year in various either capital cities or regional areas. And it was a good way of educating new operators, but also for our own members being able to get up close and personal with our suppliers, because everyone's got at a different stage in their business life. So it was a good way to connect. But then along came COVID, and that turned everything on its head very quickly. So with some very quick planning, we were able to turn an open day into an industry day, and then we ended up with Industry Week because we realised that we didn't want to run one whole day. I think that would be too draining for everybody. We thought a 1-hour webinar each day, having it packed with lots of information, would be a better way to educate and promote our services to our members and non-members alike. So each day, what I'm going to be doing is interviewing some guest panelists. We're going to take us through the design and construction of the storage facility, fitting it out with security, and then how you operate a facility on a daily basis. Along the way, I believe the operators who already have storage facilities can pick up tips on better ways to do business. But whether you're in the market to expand or build, retrofit or improve your current facility, I think that there's something for everyone in what we're exploring this week. So our 4 panelists today, we're going to be, it's the name of our panel today is Construction Extras. So we're going to be looking at roller doors, very important in storage, lifts and hoists, also a very important part of the multi-storey facilities. And of course, I had originally called this refits, but I've been well and truly informed that it's top-ups, I believe. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, it's a whole program, R3, which we'll introduce you to.
All right, and I'm going to be educated there very well. Thank you. So that's our session today. Tomorrow, we're going to be exploring software and security. Thursday, we're going to take a look at store management and web design. And Friday, we're going to wrap up with storage, the complete story, and take you through a facility tour. And I think we might even get a peek at 2 facilities, actually. But that will be from the comfort of your lounge room, dining table, wherever you may be in these COVID times. And everyone's got a different story to tell there. So just before I introduce my panelists today, I do want to make special mention of the Self-Storage Association sponsoring partners, who are BusyBoxes and More, Storeco, Universal Storage Containers, Storm & Software, and Southwell Lifts and Hoists. And we have Southwell along the journey today. So let's start out with an introduction. We've got, first of all, David Head and Hamish McGregor from Southwell Lifts and Hoists. Let's have a wave from you guys. Yeah. And we've got Adrian Valenti from Taurean Doors. Hello, Adrian. Hello. And a big welcome to Steve Boxall from Steel Storage. So actually, I'm just thinking about that. Steve, you're up in Brisbane today, so you're on daylight saving time. And Adrian, you're in Melbourne, but you're not wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. And we've got David and Hamish, you're in Sydney.
Yeah,
so this is a good spread from all around the East Coast at least. But just a few housekeeping tips for everyone. Remember that this session is going to be recorded. So if you want to go back to have a listen to it, or you know a colleague that missed out on seeing it, then those recordings will be available next week. If you've got any questions for our panellists along the way, please don't hesitate to submit it through the Q&A section, and we will answer those as we go along. And then we will be playing you a couple of videos today. So just think about the connection you're on. If it's not very strong, you might want to consider hotspotting to your phone if you're having any problems. But we've already tested all of our videos this morning, and everything seems to be running well on our end. So to set the scene today for SSAA Industry Week, I'd like now to just give you a little bit of an insight into our guest panellists and the businesses that they represent. So first will be Southwell Lifts and Hoists, and Brian's going to just play a short intro to Southwell. Please, Brian.
Southwell is a market leader in the Australian hoist design industry with over 500 hoists in self-storage sites across Australia and New Zealand. Established in 1945, we've led the market with our goods and goods personnel lifts, as well as innovations such as our car lift with integrated turntable. We've been creating hoists for the self-storage industry since 1994. Our in-house engineering, manufacturing, installation and servicing allows full control to ensure quality assurance with our products. We have a zero breakdown service strategy, meaning we focus on preventative maintenance, keeping our customers' hoist downtime to an absolute minimum. No matter how big or small the project, our team will work closely with you to ensure your needs are met with a fully operational and compliant product, on time, on budget, and to the standards for which we are renowned. Southwell Lifts and Hoists. We're lifting the standard.
Great tagline. I like that. Lifting the standard. Very good. Okay, I'd like to now introduce Steve Boxall from Steel Storage, and I'm just going to read a short intro on Steel Storage. Creating value for their clients and stakeholders through their experience, knowledge, market-leading self-storage consultancy services and products. They deliver a complete end-to-end self-storage solution that is a unique combination of free consultation, design services, manufacture and installation. As part of the Janus International Group and over 2 decades as an industry leader in the Australian self-storage market, their experience and knowledge ensure Steel Storage consistently delivers world-class service. They maintain strong relationships with their global self-storage network, ensure that they provide the very best solution for every customer. They are committed to providing industry-leading quality in all areas of business, including customer service, sales process, product manufacturing, installation, and after-sales service. Their goal is to provide seamless delivery and efficient execution every time. At Steel Storage, they believe in investing in their people to ensure they provide the very best to all their customers. Their motivated and knowledgeable staff will support you throughout your self-storage journey. Welcome to Steve. The third panellist today is Adrian Valenti from Taurean Doors. Let's learn a little bit about Taurean Doors. Taurean Doors, part of the Stramit Group. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you, Susan.
All right, so let's get on with our discussion today. It's going to be an interesting journey, continuing on from our design and construction webinar yesterday. So our second session is concentrating on what we're saying is construction extras. So I want to hear from the 4 of you, what it takes to deliver a quality self-storage building to a customer. So let's have a look at where we're heading into with our first question, which I'm going to pose to you, Steve. So Steel Storage is well known for self-storage in the self-storage industry and for their design and construction work, but what other services does Steel Storage offer outside of this?
Well, thanks for the invite today, Susan. Thanks for everyone joining in. Look, I'm really excited to introduce our R3 program to the market, which is restore, rebuild and replace. So we all know there's an ageing market in self-storage, and inevitably we have the ageing facilities. So our focus is on those ageing facilities with this program, those ones who have, the wear and tear of time and the wear and tear of use. And look, we know there's a lot of increased competition in the market at the moment. So these ageing facilities often have new facilities close by and are feeling the impact of those. Look, we're looking for those facilities that have minimal street appeal and are finding it difficult to attract customers. And look, with that comes the perception from customers of poor security and poor value. And we're looking for facilities for the R3 program that have diminishing returns, and we can help.
Customer perception is a big thing, even if someone does have good security. If it's not obvious in the presentation, if something's looking a bit tired, I guess this is where you're coming in there. So
absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this R3 program? What does it encompass?
Look, Steel Storage will work with the owners and operators of these facilities. And look, we'll audit the facility and we'll develop a plan with the owners and operators to maximise the impact of their spend on the R3 program. And we look at things like unit configuration. We look at aesthetic upgrades, hallway reskins, door replacements, access and security upgrades. Look, we look at the whole space on the facility and we look at what's unutilised in that space. So can we introduce expansions? Can we do top-ups? Or can we introduce portable storage? And it may be time for a corporate rebrand, or we just look at general upgrades. We look at lighting upgrades, general repairs, bollards, painting, anything that we can do to improve the appearance of that facility.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've mentioned top-ups, and I'm learning that's the terminology for me that I feel like I'm very well educated even after a few moments into this. So can you explain that just a little bit more to everybody? And I've got something to show here. So can I show the slide, Steve?
Yeah, you can stick the slide up. That may help everyone to get an understanding.
Right. So you chat away, and I'll get it up onto the screen.
Look, we've been delivering this product for a long time now into the market, the top-up, and there's currently a lot of interest in it. Look, it involves building on an operational existing facility, and we build above the existing buildings. So this can be a single level or it can be across multiple buildings. So this one here we got on the screen. This is one we're currently doing at Storage Choice at Maroochydore. Now, as you can see, what it delivers is a covered driveway on the ground level, and it provides on the first floor a complete footprint of storage across the two buildings and the driveway. Now, where you can see the old buildings at the back, this has been done in stages. So the first top up at the front there, all the existing units will be reskinned and redoored. So what that does, that driveway provides those units in that driveway as premium units, and they're all-weather units now. So that's this whole build will move backwards over the whole facility in varying stages, probably about 3 stages. So Taurean and Southwell are both on this project, gents. So I just want to quickly, Adrian.
Yes.
Taurean or Taurean?
Taurean.
Taurean, there you go. I told you, Ben. So Taurean's involved in Southwell, as I said. Now, look, this facility, the most important thing about these top-ups is this facility here and all top-ups is operational during the whole build. There are a few units that move during that time to build firewalls, etc. But generally, there's minimal interruption in that facility. And that's what's quite special about this type of product. That gives a good explanation, I hope. So,
thank you. So this will eventually be a 2-story facility, will it?
That will be a 2-story facility covering the whole site. It's quite a long site, so I think there's 3 of those top-ups coming through.
Okay, all right. Well, that's certainly going to increase the number of units at that site.
Well,
potentially.
Absolutely, increase double the NLA, more than double, because it's a full footprint across the driveway as well.
So I've got a question here for you, Steve. I don't know whether this is something that is easily answered, but it's from Javier Rizaninko from Storcat. He's saying, what is your average square metre build cost for a build over?
This is a difficult, and I can't answer that across the whole every build, because it depends on the in-ground works. This site particularly, we bored piers into this site, and they went a lot deeper than we thought. So the laden conditions are a big issue on these type of builds, but if the in-ground works are minimal, it also depends on whether a firewall is required. This one will require 2 firewalls and fire doors through it. So it's a bit of a general question, but if anyone would like us to have a look at it, we're quite happy to look at individual sites.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't give you a square metre rate, but it's almost impossible until we look at the site.
Okay. And you said that Southwell, because there's going to be a second level, Southwell are putting a lift in there as well.
Southwell will probably end up putting 2 lifts in that site over the whole project.
Oh, okay. Did Southwell know that?
Yeah, well, they know about one.
Okay,
in the next couple of weeks, I hope. Yeah.
All right, so I now want to move on to Adrian. We've been talking about your doors, Adrian. So can you provide us with a quick explanation on Taurean doors and what product you supply for the self-storage sector? I know that your company does a lot of things, but self-storage is obviously a big part of that. So can you take us through that? And I'd like to share a couple of slides so people can get a little bit of an idea. So while you're chatting, Adrian, I'll find them for you, all right?
No worries at all. Thanks, Susan. And like Steve, I thank the SSAA for the opportunity and everybody who's online today. So Taurean door systems, you would have seen before by the video, we're actually a part of Strammer Building Products, which is part of Fletcher Building here in Australia. We are the doors part of the business for obvious reasons, and we have 2 major manufacturing facilities, one in Brisbane and one in Melbourne, where we supply our predominantly roller doors nationally. In terms of products specific to the self-storage sector, we do primarily work with major constructors such as Steel Storage Australia and Regis Built, based here in Melbourne, with regards to both refurb facilities and top-ups like Steve referred to there, as well as brand new facilities or greenfield sites. So, yeah, very much it's always around logistics and timing. And we have some uniqueness, which I'll talk a little bit about later on in terms of those that are specific to the self-storage sector. But just for some background, approximately 20 major projects last year, and in excess of 4,500 to 5,000 roller doors into this space. Just for some context.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so moving on, thank you for filling us in there. Now, we haven't heard a lot from Hamish and David, but we haven't forgotten you. And my next question is to you. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what advice you can give a self-storage customer, and this is an operator, when they're planning for a hoist to be installed at their facility.
Okay. Well, firstly, Susan, thank you for having us on, and thanks for everyone for listening in. I guess the first question we'd ask is how many levels you want to go. 2, 3, 4, 5 is about our limit. Other important considerations are freestanding, meaning we build the enclosure or the shaft, or whether it's going into an existing building that might already have a shaft. Do you want to go goods only? Do you want to go goods and person riding? Oh yeah, there's a good slide of some of our hoists. Do you want in your loading? Do you want to have a single loading area with say, 2 hoists next to each other, which works really well on a busy Saturday or Sunday. But in the bigger facilities, we often find that they have a hoist in each corner just to ease with the traffic flow. You need to consider the capacity you want. Typically with self-storage, we do 1.5 tonne, but we can do larger. Do you want the doors to be same side, or do you want a different flow into your facility so you have them on opposite side? How big do you want the platform is another question. Typically we do 2.4 metres square. The market is calling for larger, and we're going quite often with 3 metres by 2.4. And you'll see on the right-hand slide, or the picture there's a height protection bar, that yellow and black, which is, we fit that in to protect in self-storage anyone putting things up into the door and damaging them. I guess if you were to ask what would I do if I was building my own facility, well, I'd have doors same side. That gives 3 walls in the hoist for customers to put their goods against. If they rest a surfboard up against an opposite side door, or boxes up against it, they can tend to damage it. So we obviously want to reduce the potential for that. The question of whether to go goods only or goods and person riding, I'd say if you're going to 2 levels, you could go goods only and have the staircase right next to it, as we do in that left-hand picture. But that depends on your local competition. It is you may want to go goods only, goods and personnel there. But if you're going 3 and 4 levels, I'd definitely recommend going with person riding. And an interesting one with the fire rating. We can do fire rated doors, but we recommend doing a fire lobby around our hoist and then having those fire rated doors on that lobby. It just prevents, well, it saves having to do fire rated doors on each hoist, which they can be noisy and they can be expensive to put in. And if someone damages one, there's a cost there to fix it.
So looking at this, and no, I'll actually stop sharing the screen now because I've got another question, and this is something I'm keen to know, is there's a difference between a hoist and a lift?
Yeah.
Is that something I hear about quite often?
Okay, well, lifts, no one makes lifts in Australia. They're generally the bigger companies like Schindler and Otis that we would have all heard of, they manufacture and import. Some of the smaller operators, they assemble with different componentry from different countries. We manufacture here in Australia. We have been doing that since 1945. We have our own in-house engineering team. We have 2 manufacturing plants. We have our own installers. And so everything we do is here in Australia. The advantages of a hoist over a lift are that
the biggest one is the full width doors. Essentially, our hoists are built to be robust in a commercial and industrial environment. I suppose they started life in an industrial environment, and certainly when you look at our equipment, it's big, solid hydraulic equipment that just, it's not going to break. And with the roller doors, instead of the horizontal biparting doors, the horizontal biparting doors are prone to damage. They're difficult if somebody runs into them with a trolley or whatever. They're really difficult to fix. But also imagine those sort of doors have to disappear into a space that takes up, it essentially takes up net lettable area. They're just harder to position and get fit into a self-storage facility. So the full width, you can see on those photos, that full width wide opening door, look how much space you've got to move your trolleys and your goods in with. And effectively that's really the difference between a lift and a hoist. They are covered by 2 different codes. That doesn't really worry the customer. And our equipment it only takes a couple of days to install, instead of a lift going into a pre-prepared concrete shaft that can take 9-10 weeks to install.
Okay. All right. Are we right to, I think everyone's, I think you've answered that to, now I understand now what you mean about those doors, because of course they would take up that space, wouldn't they, as opposed to the roller that goes up. So,
Yeah.
okay. And I think I've sort of combined my two queries into one there, haven't I? Would that be right to say?
Yeah, that's right. One of the other big issues, sorry, I could mention, lifts are actually technically require a really big deep pit and a big overrun at the top. So that also takes space out of self-storage as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this screen now. I just want to check on a couple of questions that have come in, so we better just have a look at those. So this is from Steve Hannon. He's with his Empire Self-Storage over in New Zealand. So what's the cost comparison between lifts and hoists? We were going to talk about that later on, but did you want to address that now, guys?
Yeah, effectively, probably really when you talk about the Spanish, the Italian, the Chinese lifts, they're fairly cheap, but they're quite economical. I get surprised by the price of them sometimes and thinking what they're able to do them for. But you've got to keep remembering though too. There's a big concrete shaft that you've got to build as well, and that is an extra cost that a lot of people don't necessarily consider in their thinking. The majority of our hoists that we do for self-storage are what we call freestanding. They're delivered on the back of a truck. We're pre-built, tested in our workshop, delivered on the back of a truck, craned into place, whether it's through the roof or inside a big warehouse, and you build around them. You don't have to just wait for the lift to arrive. I'm ready to go. And we it's for us, it's like delivering a big fridge to site. Just plug it in, and she's ready to operate. And so it's the speed of install that helps the builders. It's the ability to just order and wait for it to arrive and start it working as soon as you can, if you want. The lifts take weeks and weeks to install because they just come as a Meccano set. So there's a number of advantages, even though the prices really aren't that much different. On the other thing is maintenance. Maintenance on a lift costs thousands of dollars per year, as opposed to only probably $1,200 to $1,500 a year for a three monthly servicing that we recommend. It's very, very simple. A few $100s a visit. I don't know why lifts just quite extraordinarily expensive to maintain.
Well, they are indeed. I know the lift in this building that we're in now is some hideous cost in maintenance there, because the building's now 12 years old. I do have another question that's come in. This is from Anonymous, so I don't know, I can't tell you who they are and where they're from, but they're asking, what's the trend, goods or goods and people when it comes to hoists?
Well, the goods only is where they started. They were very, very basic, simple things when I first started here 23 years ago. But the ride-on version was allowed to come in around about 2008, and since then, much more people have been heading towards the ride-on. The goods only works probably really only in a two-level situation where people can put their goods in the bottom, press the button, close the door, the lift goes up to the second floor. In the meantime, they would need to walk up the stairs, and the lift and the door would be open when they get there, ready to pull their goods out. Pretty simple, pretty basic, cheaper. The cost difference to go right on would be about $30,000. So that would take, let's say, $80,000 for a two-level unit and $110,000 for a three-level unit. Order of magnitude, and it depends whether you're delivering to Western Australia or New Zealand or New South Wales, around the corner from us. So, but effectively, most people are trying to be really competitive with the facility just down the road, and they want to make sure that they can outdo the competition by offering a ride-on.
And look, people are expecting that convenience. This is the thing with customers; they would be expecting that convenience now, wouldn't they? It wasn't there before, but it is now. And let's face it, moving on any moving day for someone that's had to pack up house, the last thing you need to do is to have to walk up a bunch of stairs when you're having to move into a storage unit. Exactly. Anyway, well, I've just got one more question. Well, I've got two questions, but one that's applicable to now, and this is from Michelle Johns from Cat Self Storage over in Perth. Do you have to create a pit to retrofit a hoist into an existing facility?
If there is an existing pit, we can manufacture to that dimension, typically about 125 mil. But if there is no pit, we can design around that with a very small ramp to get in, so taken care of.
Okay, I hope that's answered your question, Michelle. All right, let's just move away from lifts, and we'll go on to Adrian. And I want you to tell us what's unique about your company that supplies to this sector. So we've seen in that little video before, and also in that slide, you've got lots of different colours, and we know in storage we've got some fabulous colours. So can you tell me a bit about what's so unique about your colours in steel, for our steel products?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, we as Taurean and Stramit more broadly, we use Blue Scope primarily, colour bond. However, we also have an alternate supply out of New Zealand through actually, ironically, a Fletcher Building own enterprise over there, where we provide self-storage specific colours, and that is something that actually is unique to this sector as compared to the shed sector, which we're quite strong in. So you would have seen before on those images that we shared that's a job that we did with the team at Steel Storage Australia up on the Sunshine Coast at Kunda Park. That poppy red, for example, is typically only utilised in the self-storage, and again fits with that corporate branding piece. Lazarus blue, Aztec yellow is actually very common, and what we're seeing now is actually more people going for a bright, stark white product as well in terms of that. So we also have some custom heights. So we actually stock and sell them in warehouse stores as specific to the sector. We're now starting to stock standard pull ropes or pull straps for the taller doors that we're seeing being more and more prevalent. And then the last piece that's unique to the industry is the application of the self-storage locking mechanism. So we as Taurean stock and sell our own stainless steel locks, but as you would have seen by that imagery before, they're versions of the Steel Storage Australia locks that were on those photos that we shared earlier. So our doors suit both Regis Built, I believe Storco, and Steel Storage Australia's locking mechanisms for the sides. So,
well, that's important because I know the different companies have their own unique locking system, and they all have certainly their merits. So you've got to keep up with that, and if you want to be providing that service across the industry. That's great. Yeah. Steve, I'm going to switch to you now, and I do have a question to you that someone has posed. It's actually Will from New Zealand, from Kiwi. So before I ask you about the benefits of your R3 program for owners and operators, can I pose this question to you? And what Will would like to know, he wants you to give us a brief overview of how he would complete a build-over project, keeping the facility operational and maintaining H&S compliance. How can customers continue to have access to units with construction going on above? Do you have to scaffold over an old building? There we go. That's a lot to talk about.
Okay, Will. So it remains operational, but at times we do have to cordon off particular areas. So depending on where the cranes are or where we're boring piers, So what we do is we develop a program and a methodology that minimises that impact to the facility. So if we need to make areas safe below, we do that. And if we coordinate the construction around particular areas in which we're building.
Okay, all right. So when we are now, if we can move, I hope that's answered Will's question for him. And look, if you and Will need to talk.
Happy to talk to Will.
Certainly. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just go back to that question about the benefits of your R3 program to owners and operators. Can you walk us through that, please?
So look, with the R3 program, one of the things is that it remains operational and there is minimal impact to the customers as we can provide. There's increased competitiveness of the facility with the new facilities in the area. And look, it's about changing the customer's perception and improving their experience. We look at with the rent, not only the rental space available on that property, but we also look at working with the operators and the owners to get the optimal unit mix of the existing and the new units. And ultimately, look, we want to increase the rental rates and we want to decrease the operational maintenance costs, which in turn improve the return on investment and the value of the property.
Mm-hmm. There's always going to be some pain for gain, isn't there, when it comes to doing your top-ups or retrofits? Because, yeah, sure, there's going to be areas that are going to be out of bounds, aren't there?
It's always about working with the owners and operators and with a construction methodology to minimise that impact on the facility. Times of doing certain things during the day when there's the minimal customers using the facility, early mornings, late evenings.
Okay, so that's what you work around with all of your...
we work with every operator specific for that development.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering that one, Steve. And Adrian, I'm going to switch over to you now. So what needs do you predict are going to come from the sector and what's the approach being taken to address these?
Yeah, thanks, Susan. I guess from our perspective, what we're seeing and what we're focusing on is around speed of supply as well as speed of install. So when I talk about that supply, it's around that ability to service both key regional centres as well as metropolitan capital cities across Australia and New Zealand. So we're working pretty hard in terms of that manufacturing and lead time piece, so that we can be responsive to programs like what Steve was referring to in terms of both refurbs as well as greenfields. And then also we're seeing a bigger focus on customised delivery solutions. So, and that's about getting our equipment, probably like others, to the job site in the most efficient way. Also with the least risk of damage, and as well as so that the parts being delivered to the site, again, whether it be greenfields or refurb, can actually be put up effectively and efficiently by the team or the crew on the ground. So staging deliveries is a key area of focus, and we've got a number of solutions we're working on now to make that better, as well as the actual fitting of things like the swing doors and or the roller doors. It's around, again, speed of install. So what can you customise to suit? Because there's a lot of standardisation across the sector. And then lastly, it's around the impact of electronics. Electronics versus mechanical locking mechanisms. It's around being on top of that with regards to where is the trend is heading with regards to things like apps, and so forth for security or for access to facilities versus the traditional lock and key type of approach as well. So we're just trying to make sure that we're staying on top of that and that we're supportive of that trend and not prohibiting that.
Okay, that's interesting. There's a couple of things I'd like to crack open there, but I think we'll leave electronic locks to a little bit later in our conversation. But and I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up the C word, which is COVID. You mentioned about delivery to sites. Have you had issues with that, in the last 6 months, or how have you managed that across? And do you only is it Australia and New Zealand that you work in?
Yeah, so we as Fletcher Building's actually quite big, and we're actually a New Zealand-based company, but we as Taurean only supply into Australian market or nationally at this stage. But yeah, it's been challenging, I must admit, and it's around working in close consultation with our customers. So it's really around the fleet and our transport management as being that interface with the end customer. But we manufacture everything out of Melbourne, and you're based in Melbourne. You know that hasn't been easy. So we've actually had over 33% of our staff associated with the site working away from the factory. But to be able to maintain, we haven't changed anything with regards to lead time over that journey. So it's been good.
Oh, okay.
Certainly been challenging.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of management, doesn't it?
It does.
Serious amount of management. All right. So now that we've got the roller doors in place, I'm going to switch over to David and Hamish. So over the years, I've heard you guys, we're talking about refurbishment, modernisation. We've already landed on that earlier today. And, people converting their goods-only hoists and so forth. So can you just go through that in a little bit more detail? I know we've touched on it, but I'd like to hear a little bit more, please.
More and more we're getting asked by customers to look at upgrading. And we've got a lot of hoists out there that are 25 years old. And the gear that runs it is still very capable of doing another life. It's just the actual bit that the customer sees it needs an upgrade. So on site, it can be done by our service department. Very minimal downtime. We can upgrade from a straight goods only to a goods and personnel with all the new foam technology that you need in there to make it comply. We can go from manual doors to the roller doors. Match all the colours. We can basically make it look brand new for a very small percentage of the cost and the inconvenience of a new one, and a lot quicker. It can happen in a few days because we do all the work back here in our factory and then send it to site with our service technicians rather than having to build it and then ship it over. So, yeah, more and more as the hoists get older, and we've got them going into our third and fourth decade around Australia. So. It's happening.
So the cosmetic makeover you can do is what you're saying, and just explain to me. I know you're Sydney based, but does that mean right across Australia and into New Zealand as well? Do you service those areas?
Yeah. We have our own installation team. They're very specialised people, the guys that do installations, because what we have is heavy, and it's got to be precisely done. So we ship our teams we'll ship it out of here on a semi-trailer, have the franners turn up to site, or crane if it's got to come in through the roof. There are various ways that the installation occurs.
Sure.
But then we'll send our install team. Now that's been challenging the last few months, but we do have relationships with people in New Zealand. We do have relationships with people in Queensland, WA, where we can get things done. We have our own service technicians in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney, and the other states we manage the service via subcontract.
Okay, all right. So installation, you've touched on that now. So my next question is going to be about that. So, I want to explore what a typical installation, what does a project actually look like, and actually how long does it take? And this would be on a new build that we're talking about. So. And whilst you're starting to answer that, I've got some slides here I want to take a look at. So over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Susan. Probably the best way to describe it is the whole process is something we really try and make simple as it possibly can for the customer. Quite often, the builders place the order. It might be through Steel Storage or one of the other many self-storage builders. It couldn't, and quite often though, we deal directly with the owner of the facility though too. And so within about two to 4 weeks of placing an order, we'll get you a general arrangement drawing. It's really just to describe, so that the customer can see that they're getting exactly what they what they expect, and then for them to confirm. And as soon as they can get it back to us, we're straight on to manufacture. We've probably already ordered the long lead time items before we get your approved GA back, the general arrangement drawing. But we want to get on with the job and get it to you as quick as we can. Now, normally that would be at the moment around about, can range anywhere between say 12 to 16 weeks. A lot of that's because really these specialised hydraulic constant velocity telescopic cylinders that really make these a smooth operating unit. They're the longest lead time item. We do keep a bit of a stock, but it's got to be absolutely stock standard for us to keep in stock. We do keep a bit of a range.
David, can you tell me that you got a picture up on the screen at the moment?
That picture on the screen, that's an installation in a really tight application. I know that photograph is actually Storage King up at Castle Hill, I'm pretty sure. And so what we did there was we actually took the top bit in first, held it up, and normally these would be a one-piece unit, but we split this in two by lifting the top piece up and then sliding the bottom piece underneath, and then lowering it down by those two forklifts down and bolting it on top. And so that was, seriously, that took a day. One day install, and then essentially ready to plug it in and bolt it down, and ready to go the following day.
And
so that's the ground floor, first floor. That's what I'm looking at there.
That's up 2 levels. Yeah, that's just 2 levels. Yeah.
Okay.
Go on. Sorry.
You've got a couple of other slides here I wanted to have a look at. So this one here, what am I looking at here?
They're both full freestanding units. The first one there is at a very, very early stage. Some builders like to have them really early, and they'll build around them. The one on the right is an older top-up style where that's just a single level. But what we've done there is we're craning it into place through the roof of the first level. And then Steve's going to come along and build his top up over the top of that.
Okay, all right. And I think there's another pic here. Is this? Oh, this is on a slab again. So the one on the left side.
And that's just showing the framework going around the hoist. Usually the builders are building portal frames and working their way along. I don't remember exactly where that one is, but
so Steve's building around that currently. That's what that looks like today. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's on a new build.
Yeah, and then and I do remember that one on the right. That was a massive lift over the top of a Kennards building at Homebush, and they just opened enough of the roof to lift that in. It was like a 30 meter span to get over the top. And actually, I remember the day we had a lot of cloud around, and we were getting electric shocks off the static electricity and the crane jib in the cloud. But anyway, that's how tight you can get in through the roof.
Can I just make a comment? I don't know who the brave person was that took that photograph, but I'm glad it wasn't me.
I took that photograph and I was standing off to the side.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
And you had a hard hat on as well, I'm hoping.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
That would have helped.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen now, and we'll just come back to our panel now. How is our time going? Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, but we're probably wanting to. I'm going to flick to Adrian now, because a question that we've been talking about refurbishing facilities. Steve's a specialist in that, clearly, as well as all of the other new builds that they do. But we've been talking about that a fair bit today, because we are concentrating on construction extras. And how many roller doors do we have in Australia and New Zealand? Any idea?
No, many hundreds of thousands, I believe.
Oh, I would have thought millions. I don't know the answer to that either, but I just thought I'd throw that one in. But if you've got a facility that's 20 or 30 years old, roller doors, well, they've got moving parts. I'm guessing that there can be problems with that. Do they fade and then someone crashes into them, people bend them. So tell me, what is it when it comes to refurbing a door? Is that what you would advise, or would you think that perhaps they should be replaced? Are there arguments for and against?
Yeah, there is arguments for and against, Susan. I guess it's really it's a little bit of, are the doors external or are they internal? The ones that are external obviously suffer from paint fade and do get anything that's weather focused is going to be deteriorating faster. It's really around the servicing as well of those doors. How often have they been serviced and have they been maintained regularly? Because the doors can last that long. Of course, 20 years is well within we actually test them for 20 years. So that's well within its life. It's and impact and just general treatment. There are a lot of doors that get hit, and once they're out of alignment, they tend to never operate in the same way. And then painting properly versus actually replacement doors is what we've seen. There's actually not a lot in it. So it's around the appearance of the facility. Brand new door tends to operate smoother, look better, and can dress up a whole site. So it really does depend.
Adrian, the painting as well adds a bit of weight to the door, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Steve. So it does, and it does affect then the springing and the balances. So the doors were actually sprung in the first instance based on the steel, as per the factory, as compared to painting the doors. And I've seen some pretty shoddy paintwork along the journey as well. And again, it just depends. Most of the time, it's better off going new and replacing.
So I'd like to ask this question, and I hope I'm allowed. I'm in control of the webinar today, but it interests me. We've got some fabulous colours out there, and there's lots of corporate branding, and people have already chosen those colours and they've been using them for many years. But what about our people getting into the business now, and they're about to set out on their journey? They're looking for their corporate colours.
Yep.
I'm going to go out there and say, are there some colours that are going to be, it's going to be kinder to use those, especially if you live in the extremes. I mean, Australia's got an extreme climate, so does New Zealand with its cold. But we think about the sun beating down on them all the time, and particularly in, say, northern Australia, where it's very, very hot. Is there some different colours that might work better in that environment rather than others?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see it even with all the cladding and roofing and everything we supply. It's the darker colours are in the colder climates. So typically, places like Tasmania, and obviously southern New Zealand as well. It actually suits better there. But as you go, northern Queensland or even northwest WA, you'd be always looking for that, lighter in terms of the reflection, because they actually do absorb the heat, as well as then also general appearance though too, right? So if it's in a red dusty environment and you've got white doors, you've got to have a bit of a think about then around the maintenance of a facility that's stark white. But the self-storage colours are actually you can actually get any colour almost custom made. There is a minimum order quantity that goes with that and the cost. But we actually, if someone wants to create their own unique branding and start their own trend, it's like anything. It's simply paint, so it can be ordered and specified like that.
Thank you for answering that, because it is something with roller doors, especially if you're in a dry climate, they accumulate dust, and there's always that requirement to keep cleaning, because I think if you've got dirt or dust on the surface, I think that impacts on the finish, doesn't it, unless you keep it clean? Yeah,
it does, and it does affect the warranty on some of the coatings as well, especially proximity to the ocean. So there's a few things like that you just need to be mindful of And also North Queensland and Northwest WA have cyclone and wind ratings you need to factor in when building the facility as well as buying the doors.
Yes, that's true, because you can imagine very, very strong wind in the cyclone could blow in the doors, couldn't they?
Yeah. And we've got doors that are compliant to that as well.
Sure. Okay. Just excuse me, gentlemen, we do have a question that's come in here. Now, it's from Michelle Johns at Cat Self Storage again. So I'm not sure who I should address this to, but it's probably to you, Adrian. It says, what can you do to avoid and remove rust? Now, Michelle, I'm assuming you mean on roller doors. Would we assume that's what that means?
I guess from a roller doors and probably from just a general metal finishes perspective, it's around keep doors clean, and BlueScope actually has a fair bit of this information available on their technical on their website as well. New Zealand Steel will be similar. Keeping them clean water, as well as unfinished surfaces will often start that rusting process. So that's probably the main things, and as well as being mindful of high heat, high humidity environments as well can advance corrosion. Okay, fast running out of time. Did any of the panelists have anything else that they would like to add to today's conversation? No?
I'm quite happy we've covered what we needed to.
Great.
Thanks,
all right then. Now, I just want to, we do want to do a couple of things. We will wrap up with giving out your direct numbers if anyone would like to contact you. We'll do that in a moment. But this webinar, and as all the others are this week, is about engaging with our members and other people who may be looking at getting into our industry. We really want to be sure that for our members, you're taking full advantage of absolutely everything we offer to you through your membership. So Brian's just going to play a short promo there. So Brian, away you go.
Are you ready to get ahead in the storage industry? The Self-Storage Association of Australasia membership has its perks. Membership connects you with peers in the self-storage community, along with providing access to a wide range of high-quality benefits and services. The SSAA helps improve your business and build credibility, which in turn makes your business shine in today's competitive market. Visit selfstorage.org.au for more information.
Thank you. So back to my panelists. I want to thank you very much for participating today. If I could just do a quick roundup, if you can, if you're happy to provide a mobile number for anyone that might like to contact you. I'll head to David or Hamish first.
Yep. My mobile number is 0419 421 496, and my email is hamishm@southwell.com.au. And thank you for having us on today.
Thank you very much, Hamish. Thank you, David. Steve?
Yes, my mobile is 0405 721 726. And my email is Stephen, STEPHEN, .boxall, BOXALL, @steelstorage.com.au. Thanks, Susan, for organising, and thanks for everyone for participating.
Thanks, Steve. And Adrian?
Yeah, thanks, Susan. So my mobile 0408 383 918, and the email address is Adrian, ADRIAN .Valente, VALENTE, @stramit.com.au. And like Stephen, thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you to everyone for today. I think that's gone really well. You've answered lots of my questions. Now I know a whole heap more about roller doors and why I would prefer a passenger carrying hoist in my facility. And now I finally understand what top-ups are. So thank you. And see everyone tomorrow at the same time, 11:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We're on daylight saving now. And our panel tomorrow, we're going to discuss software and security. So see you all then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.